Bookcase and Coffee presents Buzzing About Romance, a quick shot of romance.
Okay, hi everybody. On this episode of A Quick Shot of Romance, Becky and I are reviewing Ember by Emma Renshaw. It is book one of the Burn series. And I guess I should say hi, Becky.
Hi, Leah. I was like, okay, Leah's gonna just like skip that there are other people here but Leah. But then you added my name
right in. I'm just going right in.
If we didn't have an awkward intro, I don't know that people would know they were listening to us. It's kind of our gig.
It's kind of our, well, we have an awkward intro and then we're still figuring out the goodbyes. So we'll get there eventually. It might take a year.
I feel very confident with happy reading though. Like I feel like that
I do like happy reading. That is a good one.
Anyway, so Ember by Emma Renshaw. This is the synopsis from Goodreads. One night changed an entire town. 10 years ago, I left Hawk Valley. I never planned to return, not to the regrets, the bitter memories, the guilt. My baseball career gave me both the excuse and the money I needed to start over. Then my mom called, and I found myself headed back to the one place I swore I wouldn't step foot in again. Meeting Delilah wasn't part of the plan. Falling in love with her adorable son was even less so. And yet, what's brewing between us is too intense to be denied. The unexpected passion is almost enough to distract us from the crumbling of both our worlds. But even as the sparks fly, someone is waiting in the shadows to burn it all down.
And so this has a release date of April 21st of 2020. The tropes are single mom, a small town, and suspense. And the steam level, I'd say probably about a 3. Because it's steamy, but it's not like overtly steamy.
No,
but,
it's pretty.
But you don't miss it.
No, and there's angst, but it's like, I think
it's not within the couple though. Like
no, it's backstory, it's history, angst, returning home, a little bit of damage, past mistakes, moments, those moments in your life that define you kind of angst.
Well, in this moment, like it defined a lot of people, like because the book opens with the prologue, which is and it talks about the one night that changed the town. Like it opens like the seniors are having a bonfire in a field and the bonfire collapses and a lot of kids die, a lot of people are injured. Like it affects the town as a whole. And so like we're coming back into this town, and Gunnar, who is the hero of this book, is coming back for the first time, and he sees like how the entire town has been affected in these 10 years also, because he doesn't come home. He's a professional baseball player, which again, we're get a little snippets of those baseball trope this month, or baseball trope.
Well,
this month.
except this releases in April or in May. This will release the first Tuesday in May. So
that's true.
Past our April, but it does fill our single mom.
It does fit our single
the reading challenge.
Yes. So and you like kind of heal along with the town in this book also.
Yeah, there is a lot of healing in this story. I mean, you might put a trigger warning on it as far as it does have some death and dealing and grief. But overall, there's nothing like I guess they do mention the one situation that Delilah is connected to that is someone dealing with some addiction and such. So just trigger warning thoughts for there. This was originally marketed as a sports romance. Like you read the blurb and you think it's really going to be heavy in baseball, right?
But it's not.
It really isn't. This is a story of redemption. This is going back home, small town, and healing and, moving forward. And, can you ever really go back home, so to speak?
Yeah. Well, especially when like there's so much hurt and so much loss, like in an area that like he wasn't planning on staying. Like his goal was he was going into the draft the next day, or like the next week maybe.
He was leaving to do some like sports clinics when the fire happened. His best friend was supposed to be going with him, and then the fire happens.
Yes. So, I mean, like he was never planning on staying like long term. But this kept him away because he really like he lost a lot that night.
He
And
really
because
did.
he got burned very badly. So like he is dealing with injury, like continued injuries, like because of this fire also.
Yeah. And the reason he's coming home is his mom's been diagnosed with cancer. And typically she always went to wherever he was to visit. And she's asked him to come home. So he was at the end of a contract where he was currently playing baseball, and he went home for in the off season. So in the winter,
off season.
Went home in the off season with hopes to potentially pick up another contract with a team that might be a little
and get
closer.
Traded like closer.
Yeah.
But she doesn't tell him the full truth though. Like she doesn't say like how bad things are. She's like, I want you to come home. Like,
yeah.
But she kind of leaves him in the dark a little bit, which I mean, I can get, but I think she felt that it was time that he needed to come home. Like he needed to face the past and he needed to be able to move forward.
So, and I do want to say, even though he was a baseball player, he did not read like a typical jock. Yeah. And this is so much more than jock meets girl.
Yeah.
This was not big sports hero returning home. He actually, well, yes, he is a sports hero and everybody knows it, but because of the fire, he's kind of also has this survivor's guilt and label. And so there are people in town that are not a fan of him.
Yeah.
So it does not read typical sports romance.
No, not at all. But let's talk about Delilah a little bit.
Yes.
So Delilah is not originally from this town. Like that, her and her parents and her brother are transplants. They purchased, it's a B&B.
It's like a camping resort. Like it's like lodges.
Yes.
In a woods next to a
cabins.
Lake.
Yes.
Yeah, and they have cabins. And then they have like a center. So like imagine Dirty Dancing resort style, but it's in Texas.
Yeah.
So, little cabins, a big general resort area where people come in and eat and have meals and activities.
Yeah, so she is the chef there, and her parents own it, and she lives there with her son Tucker in one of the cabins. And Tucker meets Gunnar and is like floored because he is one of his favorite all-time players because Tucker loves baseball. And Gunnar, like, he really takes Tucker under his wing. Like, he plays with it, like teaches him baseball and like hangs out with him. And like sometimes you don't always get that in these types of stories where like he really like has a connection with Tucker before he has a connection with Delilah.
Well, and sometimes even in a single mom romance where, we've marketed as a single mom, she's obviously has at least one child. Mm-hmm. You don't always see a ton of interaction between the characters kids. And the kids. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
With the main characters. It's usually just mom and child. You don't necessarily see the hero and child in these books sometimes.
Yeah.
But really, Tucker played an integral part in this relationship as far as bringing them together, creating this connection, helping them to kind of open their eyes to what was around them and what they were doing, and kind of pushed opportunities a little bit that helped them kind of force themselves to be together, which I thought was really great.
Mm-hmm.
So I liked that about her. Delilah is also a super like real likable character. She could be my neighbor. She could be my cousin. She could be my friend. She reads.
I want her to be my friend.
You want her to be your friend?
I want everyone to be my friend.
She
reads so normal. Like she is a down to earth, normal. Like there's nothing fantastical about her. Like she has the everyday stresses. She has the everyday, like, she's like, I need help. I need this. Like she's willing to ask for help. She's willing to rely on her family for support and for help. And I really love the way that she's written.
Yeah. She has she is dynamic in gentleness is my thought process. Like she does big things in this story, but they're very subtle and very gentle. She is not an in-your-face heroine, which I think makes it even easier to fall in love with her and root for her because she's so unexpected in romance.
Mm-hmm. But she's so genuine. Like you read her story and she's so genuine in her love and her care and the way she treats people. Like she's like, I feel like there are occasions where we'll read a heroine who they want them to be this kind, nice character, but it almost seems forced. And so it doesn't read as truly believable. But the way Delilah is written, like she's written so well that like you picture her as this almost soft-spoken, but she's not timid in any way. Like she's not timid. She's very sure of herself and very sure of everything.
But she does have a secret.
She does have a secret,
and
which we're not going to tell you the secret.
Nope. But she is hiding a secret that could destroy everything for her.
Yes.
And so that's all I'm going to say about it. She does have a secret, and that creates some interesting interactions between her and Gunnar.
Mm-hmm.
Because of this secret.
But I think that like she doesn't keep the secret to be malicious, and she doesn't keep the secret to hide things. Like she has a valid reason for doing it.
She does.
I understand her reasoning because of the nature of the secret. And so it puts her in a tough place because she has reasonings for guarding it, and her family is aware of it, and like they understand why she didn't tell Gunnar, and they understand why the secret is kept also, and because they are the secret keepers as well. And so, because but it was an interesting dynamic the way it played out.
Yeah. I do want to talk about the subplots and supporting characters of the story. We did talk about the little bit of the subplot that it's more than just their relationship. It's also Gunnar coming home. So we hit that piece of it. We've talked about her Delilah's story and her, her secret. But there were also some other things too. Like the town is, so I think it's been like 10 years since the fire? It's
been 10 years, yes.
So the town is really starting to like kind of move on from it, like move forward to the healing, which opens up to more of these characters. Basically, these high school kids that this fire really impacted the most are adults now. And they've gone to college, or they've made way into their life, are starting their careers, and some are returning back to this small town. And there are some pretty dynamic characters in this book. You have her brother.
Yes. Colt,
and he's a sheriff officer, police officer. He
is a cop, like a deputy.
Yeah. He totally gives Gunnar a hard time. Like
he does. Well, he's very protective of his sister, and he's very protective of Tucker, and like you can tell like he's not obnoxious about it though. Like he's very like just loving and wants the best for her.
Yeah. And then there is Delilah's best friend,
McKenna,
because I didn't write the name down, and we know how I am with names. So
yes, and McKenna was actually very good friends with Gunnar when they were in high school,
right?
But I don't want to give you why. You have to read the book for why. Yeah. But they were very, very close. In her story actually just came out in Smolder, and there's some big moments in that.
Okay, well, I've only read book 1 of this series, so it's a 4-book series. I've only read book 1.
We need to read the other 3.
Well, yes, but they're not in KU, so this is the problem for me. Okay, her parents and the golf carts with the cabins and the different names.
They're like
and the golf
pimped
carts
out golf carts because because her mom's is like a Mustang or something.
Yes,
so they are fancy golf carts.
Well, and her parents are hilarious. Like they add, especially her dad, they add a little bit of comic relief and a little bit of moments of, hilarity that keeps the story going. But the golf carts was definitely a fun piece to the story. Is there
But
anything else?
I love how supportive her parents were, though, like in the decisions that like she made, and they were very supportive of everything that she did and of how Colt did, and I thought that was just, it was nice to see, because you don't always get that in like these types of stories. Like the parents, a lot of times, just because that's how it plays out, like are not always the best. And it was nice. Like Gunnar had a very loving mom, and like she was very supportive of him and his decisions, and she understood why he stayed away. And then Delilah's parents were very loving and supportive, and like you had that on both sides. And I thought that was a really nice thing to see.
Yeah. I really liked this story. I very much enjoyed it. So let's get down to the final buzz then.
Okay, so did you like this book?
I did like this book. Delilah and Gunnar are such likable characters. There's enough with the secrets and a little bit of a twist in there that keep the story really flowing. It's not a long read, so I enjoyed it very much. What about you?
Yes, I really like this book. It was the first book I ever read by Emma Renshaw, and then I proceeded to binge like everything else that like she had out at the time, because naturally, like that's how I roll. But this one, there were a couple twists in like the bad guy in this book is not who you're expecting at all. Like it was very well written and very well done, and like the twist is not what you're expecting.
It is not.
So who would typically like this book?
So for me, this is pure contemporary romance. You have to be okay with some character development being done in flashbacks.
Mm-hmm.
In order to really understand both these characters and get a grasp for who they are, their stories are told through flashbacks.
But I thought the flashbacks worked really well. Like they flowed well. Like, because sometimes I'll read a story and like I don't feel like the flashbacks like are woven as smoothly into the story. But I thought that they went really, really well and like moved organically through the whole thing.
They do very well. But some people, really prefer their character development to happen as the couple is growing together. Mm-hmm. This is not the case in this story. So just a thought. I liked it. It was well done. And again, I typically do not love flashbacks. Flashbacks, I sometimes think, are an author's easy way out for character development.
Oh no, we're doing this again.
Yeah, like I couldn't figure out how to do this in the main part of the story. So I'm just going to make something up that happened 5 years ago. And it'll fix the problem. And it's like,
but I think with this whole series, like the way that the book starts out, like she always starts out at the bonfire, so she has that natural like starting point, so she can hop back and forth, but she doesn't hop a lot, so it makes it nice.
Did you like? Who would typically like this book? Do you think?
Any person who likes a single parent book with a little suspense mixed in and a backstory that spans over a few years also. Yeah. So would you recommend this book?
I absolutely would. This is the only book I have read by Emma Renshaw, and I've read it twice. I read it when it first came out, and now I've read this, and I do very much like her. But it's a matter of finding her either in the library or, biting the bullet and paying for a book.
Yes. These ones are worth it because they're a good reread. Like that's the one thing. If I'm buying a book, like, is it something I would read again? And I feel like these are good rereads. Yeah. I would recommend this book also, and I have recommended it. I actually got it. I was recommended it by Rachel, who is Read with Rach on Instagram. She's like, you need to read this author. You'll love her. And so. Yeah,
this book was very well done. It's really good. It's totally worth reading. Everyone should check it out.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us for this quick shot of romance. Happy reading, everybody.
Happy reading. We'll see you next time.
Bye.
Find us on Instagram at buzzingaboutromance or on Twitter at buzzingromance. If you like the podcast, please leave a review. If you'd like to support us directly, join the Bookcase and Coffee Patreon and receive exclusive content only available to Patreon members. Check out bookcaseandcoffee.com for our on-the-shelf show notes.